Hey guys, welcome back for a new video. I'm Esra Chadad and you're at Culture Therapy, a channel all about culture and psychology. So welcome to this new video. I'm going to talk today about depression, and I'm going to be talking about my own personal experience with depression and how I cope with depression as a psychologist. So hopefully this video is going to help you guys out a lot in how you will cope with depression. Now let's just get right into it. As you all know, I'm a psychologist and therefore I studied depression extensively, like a lot of psychologists do. And we learn not just how the disorder works, but also how to help you or any client cope with it. But just to make it absolutely clear, just because we studied something doesn't mean that we're immune to it. So if you guys are seeing anyone and are wondering like, my god, how do they listen all day to complaints and just never get affected by it? Well, we actually do. We do really get affected by it, and we do learn our own ways to cope after maybe a tough or heavy session with a client. We have our own coping mechanisms, and we do use what we studied about psychological disorders and about how to help you guys cope in doing the things that make us be able to deal with these disorders as well if we carry any. So for me, for example, like I definitely carry depression. I have had depression for a while now. So I'd like to just start by telling you guys like exactly how that got triggered in me. So I've always been an optimistic, cheerful child, always happy-go-lucky, up until maybe I got into college. And then I was dating someone for a year, and the breakup was really, really rough on me for like my own personal reasons. Like the relationship wasn't something catastrophic, but I didn't handle the breakup very well, and that dove me into my very first major depressive episode. Now, what I mean by that is that I basically have 4 months in my college career that I don't remember at all. Like, I was so depressed those 4 months that I just barely remember anything. Like, I couldn't tell you if I met anyone during that time, or what I was studying during that time, or if I went on vacation at all, or if I went on any trips or anything like that. I really barely remember anything of these 4 months after the breakup because I handled it so badly and it got me so depressed. So that was my very first major depressive episode, and ever since then I get depressed like about every like 3 or 4 times a year. Basically, I have to handle depression. So I know depression is really talked a lot about like over the internet and media and stuff, and you could very easily find a list of symptoms for depression and figure out if what it is that someone's experiencing is depression or not by reading out through the internet. But what is key though about like figuring out whether it's really depression or just a passing mood swing or some sadness are certain experiences that people have. So these are the things and the symptoms that I personally experience and that I look for to be able to differentiate if what I'm going through is just some passing sadness or like a really extreme mood swing, or if it's legitimately depression that I actually really have to cope with now. So I want to basically break down the symptoms into three major categories. So the first category is going to be the emotional category, and this is basically everything that I feel while I'm depressed that really, clicks that, oh, this is depression for me. And the second thing that I'm going to discuss is going to be behavior. So basically how my behavior changes or how I act differently when I'm depressed than if it's something else that I'm going through. And finally, the last thing is my cognition, or basically how I think while I'm in a depressive episode that is drastically different than how I would think if I was just simply sad or angry or during a mood swing. These are the things that I look for in myself to diagnose depression. So first off is the emotion. And my emotional state during depression is mainly a baseline of apathy, so I don't feel anything. Coupled with some peaks of sadness or anger, depending on the situation. So I usually feel nothing, and then out of nowhere I could have like crying spells, like on and off crying spells, for example, for no reason. There isn't like something that is specifically like triggered me that made me suddenly want to cry. I didn't watch a sad movie or a sad video or anything. I just started tears pouring down my face and I'm crying now, right? So that's a huge trigger for me. Like when this kind of thing starts to happen, I'm like, okay, wait, something is definitely wrong here. Another thing that I realized, which is a little more subtle and that happens before I get into the on and off crying phase, is irritability and random anger at things that usually I don't really care about. So this is the thing that's a little harder for me to identify, and usually happens first before I run into like full-blown depression. It's just the first symptoms of depression for me personally that I experienced that like basically paved the way towards like a full depressive episode. I randomly get angry about things that I don't care about at all, and certain things could really be irritating for me that for me were never irritating before. So there's these little triggers, and then like basically this turns into just okay, I don't care at all kind of feeling in general, and feeling absolutely nothing other than the little peaks of sadness that happen with on and off crying. So that's my own emotional symptoms that I experience. So regarding behavior, there's a list of behavioral symptoms of depression that always go in extremes. So you either do too little of it or too much of it. For me, the big ones are I sleep way too much and I eat way too much. So when I'm depressed, I don't want to do anything. I become incredibly lethargic and I just stay in bed and I do nothing. And a lot of the time, I'm just sleeping off my feelings and my thoughts. The second thing is I really cope with eating. So I eat a lot, like I stuff myself when I'm actually really depressed. So that's another symptom that I really look out for. As soon as there's changing in my sleep patterns or in my eating behavior, then that's a huge trigger for me as well that I need to look out for. So regarding cognition and the thoughts that I have, I find it, for example, cognitively, like that it's really hard for me to concentrate or focus on things without thoughts just randomly coming in of how useless this is and how pointless it is. And that's where some feelings of helplessness also come in. I could be, for example, sitting down to work and I can't concentrate enough on my work because I'm always thinking in the back of my mind, like, what's the point of doing this? Like, why are you even doing this? This isn't gonna reach anyone. All the work that you're doing, you know, it's pointless. You're trying to help this client, but like you're actually not helping it. What if you're making things worse? What if you're totally a hopeless case and you can't ever like help anyone or be good at anything? So these are the kind of thoughts that I deal with when I get depressed. And these thoughts are super strong, and I don't really realize that I'm thinking this like out loud in my head because it's not like a hallucination, like you would physically hear someone speaking to you in your head. No, these are just like thoughts that you get and then suddenly it just demotivates you from wanting to do anything. This is where the lethargy comes in. So if I were just to listen to these thoughts and just accept them as true, then these thoughts would trigger the behavior of me not doing anything because I totally believe that anything that I do is absolutely hopeless and pointless. I would just stop doing things, and then not doing anything confirms my thoughts that I'm a useless person and a hopeless person. So this is where depression is a trap, guys. You really need to listen to how you talk to yourself. That's just a random like key thing that I'm giving you guys out there right now for this section. Be very careful about how you're thinking and the thoughts that you tell yourself, because that is the depressive trap here, okay? And so I don't listen to these thoughts, and not all the time at least. As soon as I realize it's happening, I don't listen to them. So I'm going to give you guys basically an idea of how I deal with depression, taking these 3 broad categories into account. So I'm gonna be honest with you guys, I'm a pretty functional depressed person. I hide it very well in social circumstances and I move about my day as normal as possible. Obviously inside myself I'm screaming, I'm crying, I'm tired, I'm exhausted, I don't want to do this, and it doesn't show. I make it a point to not show. That is because me as a person, as Esra, I am very worried about making other people worry about me. I get really like, I feel really bad having made someone worry about me. So I tend to really hide it, and I don't want to show people that I'm depressed at all. It's not that feeling like, oh, depression is a weakness. That's not at all it. Like, I just really know that if I tell people how I really feel deep down, people are going to get really worried about me and they'll want to help and stuff, and I don't want them to go through the effort and these things, because when I'm depressed, I feel like I'm not worth any of their effort and any of their love. Therefore, I just keep it silent within myself and I don't tell people. So I move along about my day as functionally as I possibly can. Being so functional during depression actually makes me not realize how deep in it and depressed I am until I'm like 3 weeks into my depression or something. That's like about the time when the random crying comes out of nowhere and I'm at the end of my wits and I just can't handle life anymore, because I've been like plowing through for 3 weeks and really doing my best and realizing I'm actually like not able to do my best because my brain is not functioning properly. So that's when it hits me that, oh my god, I'm depressed. So that's most of the time the case. Now that I'm getting more and more practice using the method that I'm going to share with you guys, little by little I'm starting to get it way earlier, like about a week and a half, 2 weeks in, and try to essentially nip it at the bud as soon as I can, because the sooner you act on this and the sooner you start, you know, delving into how to get out of it, the better it is for you. Basically, the longer you're going to stay in a depressed state, the worse it is going to be for you. So now I can actually get into the method. So this method is something that I use on myself all the time, and I'm using basically the things that I learned in therapy myself when I was going through therapy, as well as the things I learned as a psychologist and how to cope with disorders and how to help people cope with disorders. And since I combined these two elements together to come up with this method that works for me and that I use on myself every time I want to get out of a depressive episode. So here is exactly what I do. So since my work with clients and my work with myself has taught me that it's a lot easier to change the easy stuff before going into the really hard stuff to change first, then this is exactly the method that I do. I figure out what it is easiest for me to change, and then I use that. I change that first, and then I take it as step by step up a scale to harder and harder and harder things to change, until effectively the hardest thing to change that was really hard to change at first has become very easy to change now that I've made so much progress. So I use this method with my clients and I use this on myself as well, and it's very relevant here because I'll tell you guys how this works. So for me, the behavioral aspect, the behavioral category of my symptoms is the easiest thing for me to change, followed by my cognition, followed by my emotion. So in other words, for me, it's completely unimaginable for me to realize, okay, I just realized that I'm depressed. Let me help myself get out of this depression. Oh look, I'm just gonna tell myself that I'm happy today, and then my emotions will change and everything will be fine. We all know that that doesn't work. So I do not deal with my emotional state at all at first. I basically purely focus on the one thing that I feel I'm able to change at the moment, which is my behavior. So if I feel like I'm unable to get out of bed, I get out of bed. If I feel like I am unable to go take a shower, I take a shower. I basically don't have any like incredible self-care routine that is really regularly implemented in my life. But I really take it to extremes as soon as I realize I'm depressed. The bath that I've been putting off for so long to take just to relax, that's when I take it. I realize I'm depressed, I'm like, I'm time to take a bath, and I go ahead and I do it. This is key for depression. Depression is going to tell you not to do a bunch of stuff so you could stay lethargic and stay down for as long as possible. Your job to get out of it is to do the exact opposite of what it's telling you, which is to get up and do things. Only in taking action do you actually start changing your body, your body's chemistry. Your chemical response changes when you actually move and act on things. Like, I force myself out on walks. I force myself to go hang out with people. I'm screaming inside when I'm getting dressed, and the only thing I can think of is like, I really don't want to get out of the house right now. It's the last thing I want to do. I'm just gonna break down into tears in front of everyone when I get there. It's so humiliating, it's so ridiculous, it's so pointless, but I do it Anyway, now this whole meeting people actually helps me a lot with my cognition. And basically just doing anything other than sitting in bed all day, just left to my thoughts and to my mind. This is going to help you with your cognition. Why? What happens with me is that after I'm done having my internal hissy fit about going out and I'm out and I'm already with my friends, what I do when I'm there is, again, my thinking is like, this is so pointless. You can't even like, I honestly can't focus a lot of the time on what they're actually saying. Because I'm so in it, like, it's really hard for me to focus, but I force myself to focus. And that's the first cognitive shift that I do. I try to shift my focus from how I'm feeling and all of these self-depreciating thoughts to something that I can focus on, which is the current conversation. How are you feeling? I just give myself entirely to the people that are around me, the people that I went out to meet. If I'm doing another activity that doesn't involve any other people, if I'm just staying home doing my nails, for example, which is something that I absolutely don't want to do when I'm depressed, but if I force myself to get up and do it, my full attention is on how detailed it is. It's on every single phase that it takes for me to finish up my nails, etc. Whatever kind of activity you can think of to get yourself out of there, focus on it. Put your attention completely on it. Every time you're gonna get a thought of, this is pointless, this blah blah blah, you're like, I'm not focusing about this now. This isn't what I'm thinking about. What I'm thinking about is, I want to do my nails really right now. Like with just one task, one very simple task. I just want to do this thing right. Someone's talking to me, I just want to hear what they have to say. That's it. That focus, attention focus, basically denies your depression of thinking all of these really intrusive thoughts. You've shifted your mind to what's happening inside you to what's happening outside. That outside focus shift changes your self-talk little by little. It just starts quieting down. And when it quiets down, you get a little bit of a shift of emotion. You might actually be able to emotionally react to what someone's saying. You might actually be able to feel a little tinge of satisfaction with how your nails look because you actually focused to sit down and really try to do this, even though you really can't focus and you really feel terrible. So let's just get one thing really out of the way. I'm telling you guys this, but I know how hard it is. Like, I really know it's so incredibly hard. I know you're going to be screaming inside the whole time. I know it's incredibly demotivating when you're depressed to do any of these things. But trust me, it's just a matter of action. And once your body is in it, try to put your mind to it, and then your emotions will start shifting. What happens when my emotions start to shift is I actually take every tiny little win that I get and I amplify it like crazy. Like, I will literally lie to myself about this. I will be like, oh my god, I actually could listen for 2 minutes to what this person was telling me. Yes, I'm actually getting out of my depression. And I start telling myself this. You get that into your main focus and you amplify it like crazy in your head, your emotions follow suit. At least that's what happens with me. Now I know that once I start feeling any tiny little thing and I amplify it in my head, my emotions little by little, I start feeling things again and I start discerning between my feelings of contentment, of happiness, of relief, of surprise, of whatever it is, I start actually feeling again. And that is a huge win in my book. Actually being able to feel something again. It's no longer just sadness or nothing, it's actual feelings. And that's how I know that little by little I'm getting myself out of this depression. So, like I said, it's incredibly hard. Do practice this. I really hope maybe it might work for you, maybe it might not. Every depressive episode is different and people are different. Every episode of mine is different. I've coped with it in different ways regarding the actual details of how I've done it, but it's still exactly the same methodology. First step, take action. Second step, change my focus. My cognition, watch what I'm telling myself and change the focus of what I'm telling myself. Focus on the little wins and not the big losses that I'm just drilling into my own head. And my emotions just follow suit. My emotions catch up with what my cognition has been saying. So I don't know if this is going to help you. I hope it does. I hope it helps at least a little. I hope one fraction of what I said could be useful for you. Please let me know if you enjoyed this video by leaving a thumbs up on it. Do tell me what your experiences of depression are like, maybe other things that you have done that has helped you get out of it. And don't forget, if you need to talk to someone, please do. I will be posting links to all the suicide hotlines I know of all the countries I've ever been to down in the list below, in case like you are from that country. Please check out, if I didn't list your hotline, please check out a suicide hotline. Even as a psychologist, it is an absolute necessity for me to have my own therapist, and I do that. Like, I do go get therapy for myself as well. We all need to. We all go through different really rough things in my life, and it's not because I have the so-called therapy or magic wand that I can make myself better by magic. That's not how it works. It all took a lot of effort, and just know you're not alone in this fight. Definitely there are many people out there that could help you get through it. Reach out, please, and if you know someone who needs the help, please reach out to them. Make them know that they are loved and that they're supported, and you think of them. That's what helps me a lot, and it helps me also take that step of being able to call people and hang out with them. You know, like, I wouldn't be able to do that if I felt like people were so away from me all the time and I was so alone all the time because no one was around. So please be the person to reach your hand out to people in your life that need it. Yeah, and that's all I have for today. I would love to see your opinions down in the comments below, and please subscribe if you want more content, and if you have any questions or any other ideas in relating to this topic, please feel free to also post them. Thank you so much, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!